Hi everybody, welcome to this B1 English listening practice video. You can use this video to practice your listening and comprehension as I speak. Before we start, remember to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, and follow us on Instagram. You ready? So today, I'm going to talk about natural disasters. This is an interesting topic because depending on where you live, you might have to deal with natural disasters on a regular basis. Let's go through some of the most notable disasters that occur throughout the world. First, let's talk about earthquakes. For a lot of people, this might be just the scariest disaster, but it can strike at any moment without any notice. That being said, the vast majority of earthquakes are minor and cause little to no damage. As a California native, I've obviously witnessed my share of earthquakes, but I've only ever really experienced one major earthquake. It just so happens that I was at the gym, and when the earthquake started, all the weights and machines started shaking. I was definitely a little freaked out. But that's really the only time I've been in a big earthquake. If you live in certain parts of the world, you might never have experienced an earthquake in your whole life, like me. For example, my Brazilian students usually tell me that they've never been in an earthquake before. But on the other hand, my students from Chile and Japan tell me that they feel an earthquake almost every week. For most of us, that seems insane. And what about you? Have you ever been in an earthquake before? I have never. Okay, so let's talk about hurricanes. Hurricanes can be some of the most destructive events imaginable. Take Hurricane Katrina, for instance. This Category 5 hurricane absolutely devastated the city of New Orleans and caused almost 2,000 deaths and over $125 billion in damage. Of course, not all hurricanes are this catastrophic, but all hurricanes cause some damage when they hit land. Thankfully, I've never been affected by a hurricane before, since I'm from the west coast of the US, which is never affected by hurricanes. But for people living on the south and east coast, these storms pose a constant threat. I can't imagine what it feels like to know that there's a hurricane headed straight in my direction. I hope I never find out. Alright, another natural disaster that can cause all kinds of damage is a tornado. Tornadoes are a phenomenon that happens in the middle of the US in states like Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, where the landscape is really flat. You might see tornadoes featured in American movies before, where the people had to take shelter underground and wait for the tornado to pass by the town. I'm glad that I've never gotten caught in the path of a tornado before. Alright, one more type of natural disaster that affects people all over the world is floods. Floods can happen in all kinds of different places. If you live in a city that doesn't have a high level of infrastructure, it's likely that you've seen some flooding before. In Mexico, for example, many parts of the big cities flood every time when there's heavy rain. The parts of the city that are lower altitude become like lakes and rivers, and drivers have a hard time navigating. Sometimes the car just stops and waits for the rain to subside and for the water to clear out. As you can imagine, the traffic becomes a complete mess. I really hate this rainy season in Mexico because all of this is a normal occurrence. Floods may not be the serious natural disaster, but they can be a huge inconvenience and they can become dangerous. Which natural disaster seems the scariest to you? Alright, that's for today. Leave a comment and tell me if you ever experienced a natural disaster. I have never experienced a natural disaster myself. And remember to subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, and follow us on Instagram for more English tips and lessons. I'll see you next time.